Good morning, Villa fans, and welcome to a transfer talk, transfer window roundup. What an incredible window Aston Villa have just completed. We've probably won the transfer window out of all the clubs, probably in Europe. 5 signings, 3 in the last 48 hours or so, and we'll come on and talk about these guys here: Asensio, Disasi, and Rashford as well. And also, Andres Garcia and Malen came in this month as well. But what a roller coaster yesterday was. I said earlier when we announced the Rashford deal that, we still needed a centre back, and that had to be sort of the priority. And if we didn't sign a centre back, then signing Asensio and Rashford would be kind of pointless. And the talks yesterday was Disasi was on, it was off, it was on, it was off. It was, Tottenham, then it was no to Tottenham. And literally Monchi and Vidigani have pulled this through at the final knockings, really. I think, this one went right down to the wire. I think we got the paperwork in and all that sort of stuff and announced it after sort of 11 p.m. But whatever, he's here now. We do have a centre back, which we were crying out for. Obviously, we've got the injuries that we've got, and Axel Disasi, let's talk about him a little bit, is going to provide some cover. Let's be real about this. He's not taking the place of Ezri Konsa at right centre back, but he's someone that's going to come in, and give Mings that little bit of a rest and rotation. And also with Pau Torres coming back in, I think it's at the end of March, or hopefully back for that Champions League game, that Disasi will be used as that sort of left-sided defender alongside Konsa when Mings and Power, needing rest and rotation, because they will do. And obviously Disasi has his own kind of, he needs to get match fit. He's not been in many sort of match day squads recently at Chelsea. I don't think since Christmas. So he's going to be a little bit rusty himself. So it's going to be a case of getting him up to speed. I believe that he's cup tied, so he won't play on Sunday against Tottenham. But I very much see this as a really good signing. And what's really good about it, and all three of these, is that they're all loans. We haven't just spunked the money that we got for Jean Duran and, spent it ridiculously. We've spent money on these loans, and yes, it is quite big fees. But in the grand scheme of things, these are players that we definitely kind of needed. And as I said, the Rashford deal is costing us between 6 and 7 million for 4 months. Sounds like a lot, but in football terms, it's not. Asensio is there as well. These are no obligation to buy. We had the option to buy Marcus Rashford, and no obligation to buy Asensio. So he has to come in and prove himself, which is good. With Disasi, we've paid a £5 million loan fee and covering his entire wages, which I would say is in excess of about 120,000 probably. But again, 5 million for a player and a position that we needed critically, it's fine. I mean, it was getting to the point yesterday where, where no centre back looked like there was no centre back coming in. And it got to a point where I thought, Connor Cody, is he available? I was bringing up the free agent list on Transfer Market and having a look at Daniel Amate. And just, who else could we get at this late stage? Because it didn't look like anything was going to happen. But thank goodness it has. And we've managed to get someone like, and I'm not saying Disasi is a world beater. I mean, you speak to any Chelsea fans and they'll tell you how kind of, error prone he is. But we have seen him have good performances, especially at Monaco before he signed. And he's obviously joined Chelsea for 38 million, let's remember. So he definitely is a player in there. Same as Rashford. Same as Asensio, it just needs kind of unlocking. And maybe, with Disasi not being a regular kind of first teamer for us, coming in now and then, you might see the best of him. Maybe he can't play week in, week out. Maybe he's not, I think Chelsea were playing him in a back three sometimes, or as a right back sometimes. I think the Emery system is quite kind of set in its way. You know what the right centre-back needs to do. You know what the left centre-back needs to do. And if Disasi is playing left centre-back, obviously he's not left-footed, but, I'm sure he's still able to ping a ball. And, if we're looking for like, Disasi is a slight upgrade on Diego Carlos, I would say. I think he's aerially more dominant than Diego Carlos. Passing-wise, I mean, Diego Carlos wasn't brilliant. He did have the odd kind of good pass every now and then. Carlos was very strong, but so is Disasi. So there are similarities, and I just think him being aerially more dominant, and Disasi has this record of scoring on his debut. So, there's a little tip for you when he does get his name on the team sheet, put him down as a goal scorer. I think it's an upgrade on Diego Carlos. We've got him for 4 months. Let's see what he's like. There's no obligation to buy him, and we're just spending a £5 million loan fee. It makes total sense to me. So well done for Monchi and his crew for getting these signings over the line. I was skeptical about what Monchi was doing, and obviously prioritizing Rashford and Asensio ahead of a centre back. And I was reading articles yesterday about his time at Roma and how he was kind of ran out of the city of Rome, and they haven't forgiven him, and for what he did about selling players like Salah and Alisson and other big names and just replacing them with players who are coming to the end of their careers and just one big payday. And look at Roma now; they're still kind of suffering from the Monchi kind of era. But looking at it here now, you've got to say that he's done some good business. Yes, the next 4 months will prove whether these signings were good. Is Rashford, can Unai Emery get the best out of him? It's now down to Unai Emery, not down to Monchi. Monchi brought the player in. It's now down to Emery to work with these players. Of course, Emery's had a say. Emery has a say in everything that Villa do. And I'm sure that he wouldn't have given the green light on these signings unless he was convinced that he could work with them and get the best out of them. So it's over to Emery now to get the best out of these players. But Disasi, yes, this signing was needed. And as I said, it got to a point where I was thinking it wasn't going to happen, but thankfully it has now, and our squad is looking a lot more healthier now. I mean, Disasi can play right centre back, left centre back, even fill in at right back if we need to. I'd rather have him there than Konsa. And obviously at the moment, Matty Cash is out injured. We've just let go of Kostin Nedeljkovic, and I'll come on to the outgoings as well. But we've got Andres Garcia there now as well. Lamar Bogard has hung around, so he's still got that option at right back as well, even though I don't personally like Lamar Bogard at right back. But it just gives us those options now. Not sure about sort of game time and things like that, if anyone's been promised minutes and all that sort of stuff, but let's see how it goes with these guys. And then obviously Asensio, had his medical. I mean, it must have been the longest medical ever yesterday. He was in it for a medical on yesterday morning, and it took until late sort of 9 o'clock in the evening for it to be announced. So heck of a long medical. So I hope we've done our due diligence on him. Obviously, he has come back from serious injuries. He had an ACL injury, I think, in 2021. So maybe we were a little bit, let's make sure that his legs are fully recovered. But when he has been on the pitch for PSG recently, he has been affecting the game. I mean, 4 goals in 12 appearances this season. And again, this was a signing that, if you remember one of my transfer talks a few weeks ago, that I did mention that this could be a possible loan signing for us. So, without blowing my own horn, I've actually called Asensio and Rashford signings on previous kind of transfer talks. But yeah, I just felt like, this guy would be a good option to bring on loan. He's an upgrade on Emi Buendia. We're looking at, again, Disasi and Carlos. We're looking at Asensio and Buendia. You have to say, obviously, Asensio is an upgrade on him. He's a Champions League winner 3 times, La Liga winner, French Cup winner. I think he's won the Copa del Rey, and he's played for Spain. He is a ball carrier. He doesn't have great pace to get past people that way, but playing in that number 10 position and having him and perhaps Morgan Rogers rotating, or Rogers from the left sometimes, or just having the options even on the bench. Can you imagine this? Rogers is playing and he's not, he's stinking out the game like he did against Wolves, not having that quite level of performance like he did against Celtic. Last half an hour, right, Marco Asensio, on you go. Okay, Emi Buendia doesn't give you that same kind of fear factor, but bringing on Asensio definitely would. And another thing that this guy's great at is set pieces. We've been horrid at set pieces in terms of direct shooting and things like that. I know we scored a couple of goals from the Austin McPhee playbook, but even those are kind of dwindling away a little bit as well. But, you can imagine our free kicks and our corner quality hopefully will go up a notch now. Luca Digne's been around free kicks recently. Obviously scored against Man United in Emery's first game and scored for France, last year. But apart from that, I don't think he's come that close. apart from those two. But Rashford can take free kicks and penalties as well. So all of a sudden now we've got some really good options. But really excited about Asensio. I mean, I remember watching him at Real Madrid. I spoke to a mate of mine who's a Real Madrid fan as well, and was asking him, like, what kind of player are we getting? And he said, yeah, very good, technically good player. Lacks a little bit of pace, but yeah, he's definitely someone that could hit the ball and provide creativity, which is obviously what we need. Especially we need that in that 10. Because Rodgers sometimes gets the ball and he runs down so many blind alleys. But as I said in my previous video, Rodgers, he's only 22. Ramsey, 23. We can't expect these players to deliver week in, week out, especially after exhausting Champions League games, and all of a sudden you've got a league game on the Saturday. It's there's a lot of effort that goes into these. So I think it's going to give Morgan Rodgers and Ramsey the little breaks that they need. Maybe it's coming out from the starting lineup or coming out of the game with half an hour to go, and still having players that can come on and influence the play. We've got Daniel Malen as well, who's come in, and he can play up front or he can play from the right. I think he's going to provide some really good competition for Leon Bailey. So we look at Daniel Malen replacing Philogene. That is a massive upgrade. That's what we were looking at. Obviously, with the whole like Diaby and Bailey competition, we've now got that back with Marlon and Bailey. So Bailey now has really got to step up his game. I was quite surprised that the talk with United and Tottenham about Bailey didn't go through. It was maybe if Tottenham didn't get Matthias Tell, maybe they would have been more focused on maybe Leon Bailey. But there was a little bit of inquiries about that. And as I said, I wouldn't be that bothered if he did go. And obviously we've got our captain, John McGinn, as well, who Emery really likes and really rates. You're not going to all of a sudden drop your captain, even though I think John McGinn is coming to the end of his Aston Villa career. And I do see him moving on in the summer to Celtic. I do see that happening. I think he wants to play for Celtic. He wants to wear the iconic number 7 Henrik Larsson shirt. And I think he wants to give a good few years to Celtic as well, not just go there when he's like 35. He'll be 31, 32, I think, by the end of this season. So I can very much see John McGinn moving on to Celtic at the end in the summer. But let's see. I think we'll still, he's still got his place to play for in the team, and he's still obviously our captain. So I don't think Unai Emery is going to dump him, but all of a sudden he's now got competition for his place as well, because he obviously plays in that sort of 3 behind the front man, or he does play as that sort of CDM. But we've got Barkley hopefully coming back soon. We've got Onana who's on the pitch against Wolves. So all of a sudden there is huge competition in every single position. And what I like about the Rashford deal as well is that obviously we've had John Duran, who is an out-and-out striker, like a number 9, and all he could do is play as a number 9. So he was only going to give competition to Ollie Watkins. He can't play anywhere else. But then you brought in Rashford, who can definitely give you that competition for Watkins' space up front as a 9, and he is wearing the number 9 shirt. But he can also play from the left, and he's probably played his best football from the left. He can also play maybe as a 10 if you need him to. We've talked about playing a front 2 sometimes, and Duran and Watkins doesn't work because they want to do the same thing. Rashford is that player who could drop off a little bit deeper, receive the ball, get turned. He's happy to play make a little bit. So I think the option of having, Marcus Rashford, and even if we get 50% of Marcus Rashford back, he's a hell of a player. But I think he's going to do well for us. I've got a feeling that even on Sunday against Spurs, he's going to come out and really perform. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. So Rashford is definitely a good signing there, and Marlon as well. And then on Andres Garcia, let's not forget the 5th signing that we've got there as well. He's played against Wolves in the first half. I think he was unlucky to be dragged at half time. Did show some promising attacking moves. Obviously, defensively, he's only had a training for about a week or so to learn the system, positional play. It's going to be difficult. And if all he's been used to is getting up the right hand side and getting crosses in and cutting in on his left and putting it in the top corner, for Levante, then it's going to take a little bit of time for him to understand Unai's way of playing. And it's no surprise to me that he's let Kostan Nedeljkovic go to RB Leipzig because we've now got Andres Garcia. And I think Garcia, we'll probably see the better of him next season. I think this season is just him playing the backup to Matty Cash and coming in every now and then. Obviously, Cash is out injured at the moment, so there is a big possibility that he'll probably play on Sunday against Spurs, which is fine. But I do very much see him just bedding in for the next sort of few months and getting used to the Emery system, because it does take time. Emery's meticulous about these videos and the training schedules. And obviously, Andres Garcia is going to have to understand that and get used to that. So, I'm sure that will happen. And then we've got the conundrum of the Champions League registration. So my understanding is that we can add 3 players to our Champions League squad. So we obviously made 5 signings. 2 of those are not going to be registered. I think Rashford has already talked about winning the Champions League and wanting to play in it. So I think he's definitely one. I think you've got a 3-time Champions League winner there with Asensio. I think he'll be number 2. And then, we have signed Daniel Malen, who's playing in the Champions League as well. This is what I mean. We are now signing players from the likes of Borussia Dortmund, PSG, Man United, Chelsea, Levante as well. But so I think we'll go with probably the Daniel Malen as well, Asensio and Rashford as the 3, and maybe Disasi won't be registered for the Champions League. But hopefully by then, Mings and Torres are in better condition, and we can go with those 3 as our kind of centre-back options in the Champions League. Because I can't see Rashford not being registered. I can't see Asensio not being registered. And then obviously Daniel Malen, you signed him and he's the perm signing and you've spent good money on him. I can't see him being left out either. So I think it will be those 3. And then Andres Garcia, I think that conversation's probably already been had that, we still got Lamar Bogart that can play right back if needs be. So I think he'll be the backup for Matty Cash on that side. Sorry Disasi, sorry Garcia, but I don't think you're going to make the Champions League cut for this season, for Disasi. Not for us, I don't think. But that's my personal thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do we need more backup in defence? I mean, Disasi would be good because he can cover off right back and he can cover off centre back. But then who are you dropping? Rashford, Asensio, or Malen out the Champions League squad? I don't think you can take players out. Even though we've sold quite a few, like Buendia was obviously in the squad, Nedeljkovic was in the squad, Diego Carlos was obviously in the squad. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 others. Obviously, John Duran was in the squad. So that's 4 players straight away. So we're taking 4 players out, but we can only have 3. So I'm not sure. But if anyone knows the UEFA rulings, do let me know in the comments. But from my understanding is you can just add 3 players. So regardless of however many that you sold or not in the team anymore, you still only get to add 3. So it'd be interesting to see that one. But and I think we've done good business with the outgoings as well. We've let a lot of young players go in the window. I mean, you could probably do a starting 11, all the youngsters that we let go. Joe Gauchi's gone out. Travis Patterson went out to MK Dons. Nedeljkovic to Leipzig with the option to buy. Swinkles to Bristol Rovers. There are other players. Louis Barry went to Hull. Lewis Dobbins gone to Norwich. Illing Jr. to Middlesbrough. I think that's an interesting one because Middlesbrough doing well in the Championship. It'd be easy to keep an eye on him sort of closer to home. Obviously, wasn't getting that many minutes for Bologna, but scored in the Champions League, scored a couple of goals in Serie A. So, we've recalled him and sent him straight to Middlesbrough, and he's already made his debut there. So he'll be someone sort of interesting to watch. Caden Young off to Royal Antwerp. Don't know where that's come from, but there you go. Interesting to see, how he gets on in the Belgian Jupiler League. And Antwerp are a side that normally sort of contest for sort of the European spaces in the Belgian league. I mean, I'm not saying that they're the best team out there, but they certainly are one of the better teams. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on as well. And then we've had a couple of other sort of academy players. Charlie Lutz go out on loan as well. So it's been a major kind of clear out in this month of January. So you really have to give Monchi and Vidigani and whoever else is involved in this huge amount of credit, because we managed to get players out on loan that need minutes, youngsters, and obviously Buendia as well on that too. We managed to obviously sell Jean Duran, and we recruit, what was it, 64 million was it in the end, plus add-ons, not sure, but out of that 64 million, we've I mean, obviously Marlon was for Philogene in terms of money wise, so 64 million in the bank from Duran, and yes, we've paid £5 million loan fee for Disasi. We've paid obviously the wages for Asensio. I don't think there's any loan fee involved there, and no loan fee for Rashford either, but covering obviously 70% of his wages. So we have used the money, I think, wisely, rather than going out and splashing it all on permanent signings. I think these 3 loan signings represent excellent value, and they all come into the club with points to prove. Disasi wants to, prove that he is a Premier League player, and been mistreated by Chelsea. Rashford the same at Man United. Obviously, we know that the pedigree is there, just needs to get his head right. And then you got like Asensio as well, who's he's recovered from the injury, been in and out of the PSG team, but when he has played well. But PSG have so many attacking options, Barcola and Dembele, and I think Neves was playing, and there's so many options that they have that Asensio doesn't get that much of a look in. But I do wonder how much guarantees these guys have had around sort of minutes, because all of a sudden now we've got some frightening options in that attacking, attacking 3 behind the front man. It's good because also that means that Tielemans will play more as a CDM, which is where I prefer him to be, alongside sort of Boubacar Kamara. So that's going to be probably the main 2 sort of CDMs going forward. And then you've got Onana and Barkley sort of as the backups for that, which is good. And obviously John McGinn can slot in there as well if needs be. But all of a sudden we've gone from having Lamar Bogard in there and Swinkles on the bench and throwing on Costa Nedeljkovic against Wolves with 10 minutes to go to try to rescue a game for us. All of a sudden now you're going to look over to the Villa bench against in the game against Tottenham or Ipswich coming up. You're going to have Asensio on there, probably Leon Bailey on there. You're probably going to have John McGinn maybe on there. Don't know if Rashford's going to be on there or he's going to be starting. Jacob Ramsey, this is absolutely exciting times for Villa. To imagine, a couple of windows ago, we were signing like Bolger Baston, Tom Carroll, Simon Dawkins, some really shite players, and we've now got this as our options on the bench. I mean, it's exciting. It's almost like it's too much a little bit. It's like, is it too many options? You've got too many chefs in the kitchen. It's like, what kind of combination do you go with? I'm sure there's going to be some disgruntled fans if Ramsey's not in the lineup. Oh, he's just getting back to form, and all of a sudden Rashford's there, or Morgan Rogers is not playing one game after he's played really well against, let's say he plays really well against Tottenham, and then he's not in the lineup for Ipswich. But I think it's about managing the minutes, and I think that's the thing with especially Morgan Rogers, where he has a good game, and then it's about the follow-up game where he kind of struggles a little bit. Maybe it's too many games in close succession, and he's exude a lot of energy in that first game, and it's hard to get it back again for the second game. But this will allow it, and whatever Monchi, well, Emery, wants to go with team selection wise, you just hope that he picks the right team, and if it's not working, all of a sudden he's got really good options on the bench to bring on. So for me, these next 4 months are going to be so exciting. I'm hoping on Sunday that we can beat Tottenham. We can go far in this cup competition, because I want to see us take it seriously, and I do want to see us getting far in this competition. I don't want us throwing this away like who was at Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup, and losing the game there. I want to see us, really taking this one seriously against Tottenham. I want to see a strong lineup. I don't mind seeing a few of these guys having their debuts. Obviously, Disasi won't make it because he's cup tied. So I do hope that Tyrone Mings is back for this. Because again, I don't want to see Boubacar Kamara at centre back, and we don't have another option. We're down to that old chestnut. So I'm hoping that we're going to get to see some of these players on Sunday at Villa Park. Maybe not from the start. I don't think he'll just throw in Asensio and Rashford and Marlon all together. But certainly, I think Bailey needs to come out of the lineup. So I'd go with Marlon on the right. It depends on Ollie Watkins and his fitness, I suppose. He obviously came off at half-time with the groin injury. We haven't had any sort of press conference or anything like that for Sunday's game. It's too early for that. But if Watkins is not available and he needs a rest, then you've got the option of either putting Marlon up front or you can play Rashford. Do you know what I mean? It's all of a sudden looking very, very good. After losing John Duran and thinking, oh my God, what's happened there? And we're down to one striker. We've got three now, really. Got three options that can play up front, and all kind of can do the job. So interesting. Anyway, before I waffle on too much, do subscribe. We are getting some excellent viewers on the channel now. If you haven't smashed us a like and a subscribe and a comment, please do so. We're on the way to sort of 500 subscribers. I said it's a fairly new channel, so I'm still looking to grow. But yeah, just like talking about Villa, it's like my little therapy. So yeah, join me and like the channel, subscribe. And until the next video, guys, which will be a match preview later on this week for the Tottenham game. Hopefully by then we've got some word on sort of Watkins and Mings and where they are injury-wise and will they be back. And until that one, I'll see you then. Have a good rest of the week, guys. Bye-bye.